What do you want to
First off,
know?
hi, how are you?
Good, Don. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
Nice apparatus. Yeah.
Hey now. It's the new look.
Yeah, it's the new look. Is this your bedroom attire?
It's my new breast lifter,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Only cost me $800.
Yeah, new corset.
Steampunk. I'm all ready for Burning Man. Why are you laughing
Yeah.
at me? But enough about me.
You can have Diva bling that thing up for you. Diva's bling.
Seriously, you cannot talk. The next person that says that to me, I have had so many threats. Oh, I'm totally going to bling that. The minute you turn around, it's happening. Either that or magnets.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty rude. That's funny. But the blinging could be cool.
Yeah.
All right, talk to me about, first off, that V4,
Yep.
which I love that boat. So tell
You
me.
haven't seen much of it. New hull, takes the 1500 engine. Getting a couple of them out there. A lot different than the two-strokes. We're the last ones to jump off of the two-strokes and onto the four-strokes. So quite a big learning process, really more for the riders as well to adjust to that. And I see a lot of the riders, like nowadays, I think everyone's coming to World Finals on stuff that literally goes 3 to 5 miles an hour faster than it did last year.
Wow.
And it accelerates even faster. And I don't think all of them have trained for that. Everyone wants to have this fast boat now, which is cool. You can buy one, but we'll see how it comes out to be essentially. You know, Fraser's always talked about speed limits, and for years I thought he was batshit crazy. And now, he's 100% right. Because
Really?
people can't ride these things.
It's getting a bit nuts.
I think you'll see, there'll be 20 riders on the line, and we'll have 5 guys that are racing for the championship. The next 5 will try to maintain some pace, and from 10th on back to 20th, they should be in the expert class.
Okay.
I think you'll see that because the boats are, like the two-strokes, you had to build them. I'm doing an interview. I can turn this on.
Go to work now?
No. The two-strokes, you could, you had to have skills to ride them. It was harder to build stuff that went fast. You couldn't essentially just buy it. The checkbook wouldn't allow you to buy something super fast as it was. And now, everyone's aftermarket haul with a stock engine goes literally as fast as all of our triples did almost. And yet they accelerate even harder. And so it's definitely different for sure. I see a lot of people and it doesn't matter what aftermarket haul it is. I see people that are going slower than they used to go. I go to Body Beach and people are running 2 laps and then they park them on the trailer. Can't ride them, too fast, accelerate too hard. And so for me, it's like I said, Fraser and his speed limits. If there was 20 guys that were doing 60 miles an hour, then we would have 20 people racing on the track. If we make the boats go 80, we're gonna see 2 people doing 80 miles an hour and 18 of them just trying to survive. When we raced in the 90s and everyone did 48 miles an hour, there was racing, man.
Good point.
I mean, there was how many people on the beach watching 38 mile an hour X2s? We've now doubled the speed of the sport and we have less people on the beach. Well, what are we doing? It's not a show, It's that's, but yeah.
That's an incredibly good point. Where next for you? 'Cause I know you guys are always innovating.
Yeah, just the 4s really. I mean, Bullett's always truly just been a hobby shop. And we literally sold hulls to pay for our addiction to go racing. And so for us, if I sell enough boats to pay for my racing, then, we still race. My dad still wants to do it and he builds stuff and, it's still fun. It's enjoyable as it is. The ever-changing rules doesn't really add to the sport, and the compromises that I see and the leveraging sometimes, and a new boat comes out and it's allowed to race with this boat and it's not the same boat, I mean, it's like you still see the Blaster X2 HX evolution even in today, It's the SXR 1500 should have never raced the normal race boats that we had. Turbocharged stand-ups shouldn't have been allowed on the water to race the 2-strokes that we had and vice versa, It's like if you bring something out and one boat has 180 horsepower and the other boat has 250 horsepower, they don't belong on the racetrack together. It's pretty simple, In most forms of racing, you see more competitive racing, the more similar that stuff is. You know, you travel the Formula One circuit over there, and they hand those guys the ignitions that they must run in all of their boats each race. You know, they do that for a reason. It's like to keep it competitive and to keep the guys from breaking. You know, in that sport they did the same thing. Everyone went off, built sci-fi shit, and 20 guys started and 8 people finished. And then the promoters are sitting there like, what do we do with this? We have no one watching the race. Okay, here, we're going to give you ECUs. You get a 7,000 RPM limiter. And oh, look, now 20 people start and 18 people finish. So now we have a show. So to me, still, it's always been like, the show has got to be the most important thing. Like, I don't care what we're racing or what we do, because it's like, you know, you put 2550s on the line and it's like everyone's watching them. There's more entertainment sometimes watching that stuff than the elite stuff that we do, you know. And I mean, I build this stuff for fun, but at the same time, like, I know that it's not the evolution of the sport per se. I think that we're getting farther and farther away of what like would be the evolution.
Interesting and great philosophy from, in our opinion, one of the top 3, right? You're a huge innovator. You've made massive advances in this sport.
Correct.
I mean, think about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, essentially when we got into the aftermarket hull business, the hydrospace was dominating the sport. And we came along and we built an aftermarket hull to compete with the hydrospaces that were on the track dominating. And we did it with the 2-stroke, and we essentially, you know, took the hydrospaces right off the racetrack. And, you know, Klippenstein was the last one to battle one year with McCluggage, and it was a great race. And that's probably the last great race that I remember almost at World Finals, to where you were sitting on the edge of your seat like, wow, this is some good stuff going on, you know. Like, I don't want to see anyone go out there and literally just dominate and just run away from it. It's no good, you know. It's like, we need to see racing, you know. And with the boats, you know, like last year we had 2-strokes, big Kawasaki's and aftermarket hull turbos on the line, and it's like a top fuel dragster with a motorcycle and a pinata racing on the racetrack, and you're kind of like, well, you know, if this guy wins, well, of course he won. The water was flat and his boat was the fastest. Or if this guy wins, of course he won. The water was rough and his boat was the heaviest. And it's like, it's away from the skill of the riders like it used to be. You know, I think this year there'll be good racing because more people will be on more similar watercraft. You know, an aftermarket hull with a 1500 is the choice now. And so I think you'll see more better racing, but I think you'll still see that the back half will struggle with the power and what they've been able to like buy almost, you know.
While I have the chance to touch base with you on the importance of the hull in the whole scheme of things on the water, how important, in your opinion, is the hull and why?
The hulls, I think nowadays that, you know, I think it was more important back in the day, but it's still important. But kind of what's happened now, like everyone with the new engine packages with the 1500, is everyone's pretty similar on horsepower now. And so now it's going to play more into effect on what hull is working better still in what water conditions. To me, there's 3 of us that are doing this, and each one of us have a hull that probably works better in a certain water condition. You know, I don't think there's one all-around hull for say that literally suits that, you know. I've had stuff in the past, you know, our V3, in my opinion, with the triple in it, was probably the best stand-up hull ever made. Super easy to ride, super fun, works really, really well. Now we've gone with the 4-stroke engines. They're bigger, they're heavier, it takes more rider input to work the boat, to do things with it, you know. And so now it's playing more into effect. Like, I mean, it depends on the water conditions, you know. I hear some numbers out of some other guys' hulls, pretty fast, you know. It must be flat water. And I see some stuff in some rough water, and I'm like, oh, I don't think it goes that fast in rough water. So it's still, everyone almost still, you know, if 10 people go to a race, there's 10 different stories on what everyone sees at that race. You know, and normally, like, we've been pretty good at, like, seeing what's going on with the race and being able to adapt for sure, you know. When you get leveraged with boats that have more horsepower and different things like that, then that kind of changes the evolution of the sport, you know. I mean, for years, obviously, I mean, Jeremy won the World Finals 3 years back to back, essentially with a triple, two-stroke engine, and we had some good racing during those years, and they changed the rules so the other guy could show up with more horsepower, and the other guy, Kawasaki, could come with a boat that weighed 200 pounds more to compete against the same thing. And I mean, I guess I should be flattered that they needed to do that stuff to beat us, and so now it's just, it's changed a bit of the sport because they did all those things, and now none of those things are what's working anymore, and everyone's trying to go back to like racing the same watercraft again. So, in my opinion, and the cream always rises to the top, and so it's like, yeah, we're a little late to the four-stroke game, but I've been doing this for, I don't know, 30 years now, and it's like the results prove themselves for over the years.
True story. Hey, bud, thanks for letting me catch up with you. You're awesome.
Thanks.
Can't wait to see you guys in the line.
Right on.